Hello, and this is Bingo from tradingfootball.eu, and this is a video of a typical in-play trading night that we can find in the chat room at tradingfootball.eu. We're concentrating here on 5 particular games with different strategies applied to each, but they're all based on strategies that we use in play. The first one we can see here is Paris Saint-Germain against Ajaccio, and we've done a half-time, full-time market in conjunction with the correct score. Beşiktaş against Trabzonspor in the Turkish league. This is a MOX strategy. The MOX strategy is we back the home favourite at minimum odds 2.6. We back the over 2.5 goal market at minimum odds of 2.3, and a few selected correct score lines to the away team. In this case, we've backed 0-2, 1-1, and we've added 2-1 just in case we can actually go for a sort of a treble hit jackpot if Beşiktaş do win, and it's over 2.5 goals, and will also win on the 2-1 market. Interestingly, in the Paris Saint-Germain game, who were 1.19 favourites pre-match, Ajaccio actually took the lead, which wasn't so bad, because we've got the draw Paris Saint-Germain in the half-time, full-time market. There you can see we've got £38.84 potential green there. Now, I could have exited that particular market for a small sort of £2.50 profit, but it looked like, certainly the market it would expect, that the very heavy favourite Paris Saint-Germain would come back and equalise. Whether that would be in the first half or not, obviously I wasn't too sure. So what I did was to try and sort of minimise some of the potential liability, was to lay the 1-1 in the half-time score market at 2.9, and that would at least reduce by 50% my liability on the half-time full-time market, which was £10. If it went to 1-1, okay, I would lose a £9.30 there, but I've got £38 green if it was a draw at half-time. And then it would be simply a matter of letting the trade run or laying Paris Saint-Germain in the match odds market. We can let this trade run here at Paris Saint-Germain. We've got some cover, we've reduced our liability, and the market expects that Paris Saint-Germain should come back into the game. Our other game was in South America and Brazil, Flamengo against Sao Paulo, and for this trade we applied the Scattergun strategy, which is simply backing 1-1, 1-2 and 2-1. Our total liability there is £11. And it's only the correct score market that we use for this particular strategy. In the Paris Saint-Germain game, I just wanted to show you the graph here on the half-time, full-time market. There you can see Ajaccio was pre-match at 60s, and then when they scored it came into 5.4. The draw Paris Saint-Germain, we backed that at 5.1, and that just came in slightly. So into the second half, and it's still 0-1 in the Paris Saint-Germain game. So what I did was to lay Paris Saint-Germain for £30 at 1.72 in the match odds, and back 3-1 at 6.6 for £10. So we're covered if Ajaccio actually go on to win or it's a draw. If, as we expect, Paris Saint-Germain do come back into the game, then that 3-1 scoreline and the £56 green we've got there will help us. Our obvious danger then would be the 2-1 scoreline, and we will be backing that at some point later on in the second half. There we go, our bets are matched. So if it stays an Ajaccio win or a draw, then we win £30 on the match odds, less the £10 on the correct score market. So it's a £20 potential profit there. That suspended sign, in fact, that's just the end of the first half. Our next game was Osasuna against Granada, and Granada were 2-0 up. So the strategy here is that we lay the winning team, and you can see here that Granada, who are actually 2-0 up, were the underdogs pre-match, trading at 4.0. So again, we should expect that the sort of heavy even money favourite Osasuna will come back into the game. So therefore, we place our lay bet at 1.17 for £50, and the beauty of this particular strategy in play is that it would only take one goal from the favourite to make the price on Granada drift out, and there we have an option then to back Osasuna at higher odds and green up on the match odds market. And this goal that we need from the favourite can come any time up to at least sort of 80 minutes. Our second game was from the Spanish Segunda Division, and a very similar scenario here. The heavy favourite Murcia were 2-0 down to Huelva, so we laid the underdog, who were 2-0 up, at 1.1 for £50. And again, we want the same scenario here. We would like Murcia to reply with at least one goal. Back over to Beşiktaş in Turkey. It's into the second half. Our strategy is not looking particularly healthy at this point. It's still 0-0. Remember that we want Beşiktaş to win, and we would also like over 2.5 goals. And again, over in Paris, it's still 0-1 to the underdog. But the market there, you can see on 1-1, 3.25. So the market really is expecting Paris Saint-Germain to come back into the game. As I said earlier, our possible danger scoreline in that Paris Saint-Germain game was 2-1 to the heavy favourites. We've already backed 3-1. So a small back of 2-1 there at £5. 63 minutes gone over at Beşiktaş, still 0-0, not looking good. Our scattergun strategy in Flamengo Sao Paulo, that's not looking particularly healthy either. But this is Murcia get a goal back, and on 55 minutes. And as you can see now, that we laid Huelva at 1.1, and we can now back them at odds of around about 1.5. Then we can see there highlighted the potential profit, or we could hedge out for now, would be sort of £9.75. Now we've got a sort of a number of choices. You can either do that, hedge out for £10, as you can see there, or you can reduce your liability. In this case it was £5. Trying to get the best possible price, so I've asked for 1.5. You can see my £10 lying there in the pink lay box button. That doesn't look like it's going to be matched, so I've just dropped it to 1.47. Now you can see we can take a possible £12.33 hedge green if we want. I had a feeling at this point that Murcia could in fact even get a second goal to equalise, and therefore we would realise our whole sort of £40 potential green there. So all I've done simply is just taken out the red of £5 on Huelva. My decision making in terms of this particular trade and the other Spanish game, Osasuna against Granada, was in some ways dependent upon how my other trades were going. As we saw earlier, Bexitas and Flamengo at this particular point in time were both losing trades. So I wanted really to keep my eye on those two. And also I didn't want to actually sort of lose any money on the Spanish games. So I was going to have to make a decision whether to take a guaranteed profit in those games or not. There we see Flamengo 0-0, Bexitas still 0-0. And it's still 0-1 in Paris Saint-Germain. So 2 out of our sort of 5 trades are sort of guaranteed to be in profit. It just depends how much I want to take here. Osasuna, as we'd hoped for, they got a goal back to make it 1-2. So, as we did in the other Spanish game in Murcia, we can now back Granada. And what I've done here, I've backed enough so that at least we'll get some profit, whatever the results, and I've left a higher profit on the draw and Osasuna in that particular game. As you can see, I could take £11.91 hedge green if I wanted to. 67 minutes back in Turkey, still not looking good, and it's still not looking good in Brazil either. So I'm sort of losing sort of potentially £11 on the Flamengo game, and sort of around about sort of 15, £20 on the Bexitas game. So I've decided I'm going to take the guaranteed hedge profit on both of the Spanish games. An interesting statistic highlighted by one of our members, Blue Duck, which is a great stat, and it should alert me to the fact that perhaps I should do something about this rather than leave the bigger profit on the draw based on that particular stat that Blue Duck dragged out. It's possible that I should actually sort of hedge this particular market now for a guaranteed sort of £12 profit. And that's the beauty of the chat room. You've got kind of people in there who are posting extremely sort of valuable information like that can help us in our decision making. Slight scare there as my bet was trying to be matched, but the suspended sign went up. It was actually nothing at all, so trying to get the bet matched again. You want to take the price quite quickly here because those particular odds, you know, they're going to be coming in to one tick at a time very, very quickly. So, you know, don't kind of start chasing the price down. Just sort of take what's available. Now, better news: 75 minutes, and Bexitas, who we backed in the match odds market, have actually scored. So that's helped our cause a lot. And we have a £15 profit on Bexitas in the match odds. We've got an £8 liability on the 1-0, and we've got an £8 liability on the over 2.5 market. So we're looking at now a sort of a £3 potential red. So we really kind of would like Besiktas to score again. And they don't really have that much time to do it, so another 15 minutes left over there in Turkey. And interestingly, Paris Saint-Germain still struggling against the underdog. The market there still expects Paris Saint-Germain to equalise. Odds of 2.8 on the 1-1 scoreline there. But we're still looking good for a potential £10 profit overall in that particular game. We've got £25 on a Jackie or the draw, less the £15 red on the correct score market. So that's not looking too bad either. A little bit worried about the 2-1, even though there's kind of 20 minutes to go. Besiktas, we really could do with another goal, and bingo, there we go. Now, is it too late for us to do anything on the over 2.5 market? Remember, we only just need one more goal here. And you can see at the bottom, we've got £18 on the 2-1 scoreline. That would be extremely good news indeed. 3-0 would also be very good news too. So what I decided to do is at least reduce some of the red on the under 2.5. So at least that would give us maybe sort of around about a £2 overall profit on that game, rather than a £3 loss as it sort of stands. So we've got £15.40 on the match odds, £4.58 red on the over 2.5, and £8 red on the correct score market. So we're okay there over in Turkey. Now, as it happened, Murcia actually came back and scored an equaliser, but our trade was finished there. We exited for a hedge profit of £12. Flamengo, this is our kind of worst trade so far, the Scattergun. We're looking at an £11 loss overall. So I decided to lay the 0-0 over in Flamengo at 1.25. Time is running out for Paris Saint-Germain. But we're still okay for a sort of guaranteed profit there. And in the 85th minute, the French League One champions equalised to make it 1-1. We're still okay, except with 5 minutes to play, well, you know, there's still a possibility. Now, over in Flamengo, what happened in the 85th minute, Sao Paulo were awarded a penalty, which is great news for us, except the bad news was they missed it. I didn't want a loser over in Paris Saint-Germain, so I backed 2-1 for an extra £2. And into injury time, I made a very quick lay of 1-1 at £10. So there, in Paris, the final result was 1-1. And we made a small profit out of that. And here's the final analysis. I mean, not a lot of money, but a useful exercise anyway in how you can trade sort of various games in multiple markets.